Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. I'm Chris.
And I'm Cherie, and we're of RV Mobile Internet and also Technomadia. And in this video, we are going to give you a recap of an article that we just published. It's the 2016 RV Mobile Internet Year in Review.
And 2016 was a big, crazy year for staying connected on the road. Mostly a really good year. There's a lot of good news. It's never been easier to get a fast, reliable connection on the road. But it's complicated. There's a lot of hoops, and we're here to help guide you through it all.
So if you'd like to follow along with this video, we do have the article at rvmobileinternet.com/2016 review. And there's a lot more information and links there for you to follow up on what we're going to give you a quick recap of here.
We're going to start with cellular, and then go through Wi-Fi and satellite. But so starting with cellular, one of the biggest stories of the year is basically the end of the dreaded overage charges. So it used to be you'd burn through your data, something was happening on your computer, you didn't even know what it was, and suddenly there's actually lots of reports of people getting $1,000 bills, $100 bills, $15 a gigabyte for crossing over their threshold. And the carriers have backed away from that.
Sprint and T-Mobile both had been offering plans where you picked a data cap, and then once you hit it, all they did was just slow your speeds down to basically 2G speeds, slower speeds, and you didn't get hit with overages.
Right.
Verizon and at&T this year, both this summer, made moves to follow suit, basically following the footsteps of their rivals, T-Mobile and Sprint.
Right. Now, there is a bit of a catch, though. So Verizon introduced safety mode, which will basically you enable it, and it puts you into the slow lane when your data runs out, but you have to turn on safety mode manually. It's not there protecting you by default. And then at&T rolled out a new mobile share advantage plan. You have to switch to that plan to get the new feature of not going into overages. So you've got to do a little bit of homework, but now at last you can avoid overages.
If you want to, especially on Verizon, it's nice that you have the option, I think. Also, Verizon introduced Pop Data, which on their new plans allows you to subscribe for a 30-minute or 60-minute session of unlimited data for $2 or $3. So it's another way to manage your data on the road.
It's a little binge pass. If you want to go download something like crazy, go for it.
Other news, big moves this year in video streaming over cellular data. All of the carriers have now introduced options for this.
Yeah, again, this is the carriers all marching to the drum of a beat set by T-Mobile in 2015 when T-Mobile brought out Binge On. Now, in response, all the carriers have now their own systems, but they're different. They're not nearly as simple as just watch whatever you want. So
let's start with T-Mobile, the one who kind of introduced it at the end of last year.
Okay.
Or last year, meaning 2015. I'm still mentally in 2016. Binge On their Simple Choice plans allowed you to use on like over 60 video partners, including YouTube, to watch movies or video streaming at 480 pixels or DVD quality.
And you didn't have to manually turn this on or select it. It would just downscale the video and let you watch all you wanted from about 100 different video sources. But then later in the year, T-Mobile's new plans, the T-Mobile One plans, said, forget Binge On, we're just going to make everything unlimited. All video is going to be downscaled, and you can pay for a premium plan if you want to watch HD video. So
or day passes if you prefer.
Yes.
And those plans, they are unlimited data, and they do include tethering, but it is at 3G speeds by default, or you have to do the upgraded one to get full speed. So that is a great option with T-Mobile.
But great way to watch video.
Let's see, who introduced the next video option? Let's go with at&T. At the beginning of the year,
yes.
They have, of course, bought DirecTV in 2000 previously. And they first introduced unlimited data plans again on their smartphone plans, but only
for DirecTV subscribers. Yes.
And then they had a streaming app that went along for DirecTV subscribers, and they at first introduced it so that their customers could stream DirecTV content online with no impact on their data cap.
And now let's jump to the end of the year. AT&T has rolled out a DirecTV Now service. So now you can subscribe to DirecTV without having to have a satellite dish or a residential address. You're just subscribing to a streaming-only service. And you can stream, then AT&T as a perk has said you can stream all the DirecTV you want on our network and we won't have it count against your data.
Only on smartphone plans and only via their mobile app. And a lot of people have been caught by trying to tether off an AT&T plan. It doesn't work.
Meanwhile, T-Mobile T-Mobile is laughing. They're even buying people a DirecTV subscription, saying, "Hey, we've had this all along. You can watch AT&T's DirecTV on T-Mobile just as well, if not better, than on AT&T."
Sprint also launched their new unlimited freedom plans over the summer, basically following T-Mobile's lead with the One plans, allowing for unlimited video streaming at the 480p, or you can upgrade to an HD Pass for additional.
Yeah, and the nice thing about Sprint's version is when you upgrade to Sprint's premium plan, you get HD streaming, whereas T-Mobile, when you've got the T-Mobile One Plus plan, you have to activate a day pass manually every day. It's still free unlimited day passes, but you have to click that step of give me HD.
And then Verizon. They launched their Go90 video app some time ago, which has a limited amount of content. They own the app, and they do allow streaming on that without impacting your data cap.
And also, they have a deal with the NFL. So NFL games only when watched on a smartphone. You can't put it on a big screen in any fashion, but NFL games through the NFL app are free to watch on Verizon as well.
And of course, if you have one of their grandfathered unlimited data plans, you can watch anything you like, no throttling, no caps or anything, which of course many of us on the road do utilize. And we'll be talking about those a little bit later.
So also related on the video binging front is if you don't have an unlimited data plan or a plan that includes free streaming, a lot of the top video services have rolled out features this past year to let you download shows in advance when you have a free connection to watch later. So both Starz and Netflix are doing this now.
And then
Verizon,
YouTube Red. If you're a premium subscriber to YouTube, you also have that
and
option.
Amazon Prime Video. So now 4 of the biggest services let you download shows in advance to watch later, which is great.
Which is great, because if you've got great Wi-Fi at a friend's house or a library, you can go get that content in advance and take it with you. Another option for there. We do have a full guide to TV and entertainment on the road at rvmobileinternet.com/TV that goes over a whole bunch of other options for this.
Now on to LTE technology. So it's actually keep it simple. It's making my head spin just how fast and how good LTE technology has been getting. But you have to have the latest hardware to take advantage of it. The main thing that all the carriers have been deploying this past year is called carrier aggregation. That basically lets your phone or your hotspot be connected via multiple channels at one time to combine the speed. So imagine a 20-lane highway and a 20-lane highway. Suddenly you've got a 40-lane highway. That's carrier aggregation. And all the carriers are now starting to roll this out. Verizon's made a big push that they've now got it in 450 cities. T-Mobile says we've got 500 cities. Sprint is doing it. AT&T is doing it. But then there's a few other special technologies.
Like Sprint's HPUE.
So that's something that's more coming in 2017, but it's a way that Sprint's going to try and expand their range with only compatible phones, and none of them exist yet, but look for HPUE from Sprint next year. T-Mobile has had a really banner year expanding their coverage map. They've been rolling out Band 12 coverage, and just yesterday they announced they're now within 1 million people of Verizon as far as coverage maps. That is best case scenario coverage map. T-Mobile is still a long way to go to really catch Verizon, but they are growing fast. So,
and their coverage map is the one that is the fastest expanded. Yes. It is still a distant third to AT&T. Verizon, of course, being first.
Yes.
It's not quite to a point where we can recommend T-Mobile as a primary carrier for most RVers, but we definitely have moved our advising to T-Mobile as suitable as a secondary carrier for most of us.
But if you do have T-Mobile, make sure your devices are compatible with extended range LTE or LTE Band 12. That's 2 ways to call it. That otherwise you're going to be missing out on most of T-Mobile's new coverage.
We did do a very in-depth webinar with our premium members last year on the future of LTE, explaining all of these techno lingo things a lot more in depth. So our members do have access to that archive now if you'd like to learn more.
So now just kind of a quick recap of a few of the other bigger stories of the year. One is this time last year we were all excited about Karma, this hotspot service that had unlimited data, the Never Stop plan they brought out on Sprint, really affordable. And, well, Karma had a bad year.
They almost right after the first of this year, or 2016, they canceled. They first started putting restrictions on it, then they canceled it. A lot of people then switched to their refuel plan, which was by the gigabyte, and a lot of people asked for refunds. And at the end of this year, there are still customers waiting for those refunds that they requested at the beginning of the year.
Promised almost a year ago. So Karma is basically a company to consider on death watch. It would be very surprising if they make it much longer.
Google's Project Fi is pretty exciting. This is a service that Google put together. It combines both Sprint and T-Mobile onto one phone, so you can get both services on both the phone.
And now U.S. Cellular as well. So the 3 of the top 5 carriers in the U.S. are now, you get their combined coverage map. Unfortunately, it's the bottom 3 of the top 5.
Oh, well.
But Project Fi is neat, very simple, very affordable, but it only works with Google phones. So the Pixel, the Nexus, the very few phones that are Project Fi compatible.
They're compatible to go to those multiple networks. You do pay by the gigabyte on that one. It is $10 per gigabyte, whether you're doing it in the U.S. or international roaming. Not really affordable for high bandwidth usage, but it's a great option as a supplemental, and a lot of people really like it for the phone service.
Yes.
So great option to look into for RVing.
Now, another interesting option for people who need a lot of data is these plans have emerged this year that are non-profits offering service via Sprint. So they're offering hotspot service. You pay a donation effectively to the nonprofit for, sometimes a year in advance, and you get a hotspot that gives you truly unlimited data on Sprint. And several of these have popped up. And if you are in a Sprint coverage area, they're actually a really interesting, really affordable way to get unlimited data.
There's 3 companies that we're tracking that are offering them. One of them does require that you be certified as low income, and you have to actually submit proof of that. But there are others that are available to the general public, and these are starting around $10 to $14 per month. Now you prepay for a year
in advance.
You're not a direct customer of Sprint, but it is a very interesting option for an unlimited data plan. We got one from 4G Community last year, and we have been using it when we're in Sprint coverage areas, and so far it's working great.
Yeah, we've been using 100 gigs last month on it, and worked out wonderfully.
at&T at the first of this year, so January 1st, 2017, did shut down their 2G network. So we're starting to see old 2G technology phasing out.
And that shouldn't have impacted anyone unless you're still clinging to an ancient first generation iPhone. But we do have an article of when the sunset periods for all the other carriers are, when they're going to start phasing out their 3G network. So if you're concerned about the future of your devices, looking that up.
And probably one of our bigger news stories that we're tracking. A lot of us RVers rely on Verizon unlimited data plans, grandfathered in. We've either kept them from the olden days, or we have acquired them by going through a process called assumption of liability, or perhaps rented them from vendors that you can find on eBay, or we do have a guide to some of the vendors as well.
So this is one of the best ways to have an unlimited data connection, but Verizon doesn't like the idea of unlimited data.
Of course.
And this last summer, they actually took their first move to cancel a bunch of lines unilaterally from the heaviest, quote, excessive data users. They canceled 1,200 people last summer. But
now, all of these contracts were out of contract.
Right.
So they were not people who still had existing contracts, which we definitely recommend keeping your plan in contract if you can. And then these were people that were in excess of 500 gigabytes per month. In the popular media, there got word out that there's a cap of 100 gigabytes. There is no confirmation of this as of yet, and we do not consider it. Now, at the beginning of this year, news is breaking.
2017.
This is a story we are tracking at this very instant. There is rumors that there is another round of those letters about to go out starting today, and the rumor that has leaked is that it's at 200 gigabytes and above, and we're thinking it's still going to be out of contract users.
Right. So if you have a Verizon unlimited data plan and it is worth its virtual weight in gold, pay close attention to all the news and stuff. We're tracking this very, very closely. So pay attention, protect your plan. We'll give all the best possible advice on how to do so.
And our members will always get advance alerts. They actually got alerted on this a couple days ago when we first heard about it, and we walk them through the steps that we think are best for keeping these plans protected as best as possible. Also, the rental Verizon plan. So you'll see a lot of people selling these for $100 to $150 a month, sometimes higher. A lot of those vendors did get shut down by Verizon in the last few months because they are technically in violation of their terms of service for their corporate plans, because they're not supposed to be renting them out. They're supposed to be used for their employees.
Right.
And Verizon is catching on that these vendors are on eBay and other venues and selling them out.
Right.
And they have been getting canceled.
So keep close eye on unlimited data plans and how this is all changing.
All right, so moving on to cellular
Cell
boosters
booster.
and antennas. Not much due actually this year.
No, there was
Thankfully, we have enough of it to cover.
the one new booster of the year was the Maximum Signal Max Amp, which finally shipped after over a year of being a week away from shipping. Unfortunately, in our testing, it really has not thrilled us.
It is not. We're testing it head-to-head with the WeBoost 4GX, and we consistently get better performance out of the 4GX thus far. Maximum Signal has sent us a couple replacement units, thinking that it might have been on their end.
Hardware faults and stuff.
We have worked with their engineers to try to get it installed correctly to their specifications, and thus far we haven't. We will continue testing it.
And actually we're going to start a whole, because now going into 2017 there's new boosters coming to the market from Smooth Talker and High Boost. We're going to try and track down a few others. So we're going to bring the Maximum Signal back, test it with the best of WeBoost last generation, and look at all the booster options going into the new year.
WeBoost did, however, while they didn't launch any new boosters, all of theirs are solid performers. You just can't go wrong with them, we think. They did launch a brand new trucker antenna, which has been long anticipated to be compatible with the LTE bands. Their former one was mostly specified for 3G bands.
So if you have an old Wilson WeBoost trucker, it's overdue for an upgrade, and now there's a good option.
So the 4G OTR, we have been testing it for the last several months. We do see a measurable
it's a good
signal
antenna.
increase and speed increase, which is the most important factor for data users in our testing over the default little 4-inch magnetic stubby antenna that ships with the boosters. However, it is very tall. It ranges between 19 and 24 inches depending upon which version you get. It's kind of rigid, and it makes an installation challenge for RVers.
Depending on your RV setup. Definitely think it through before you order it.
So yeah, we'll be continuing our signal enhancing testing over the coming months.
Now, looking into 2017, there's
For cellular.
For cellular, yes, we still got other sections to cover. There's the big news that's shaking the entire cellular world and inserted a lot of uncertainty is the FCC is changing. So the Federal Communication Commission, as the body that regulates cell carriers and cable companies and everything like that. And with the new administration coming in, the FCC will be getting a new chairman and a new majority and a new agenda. And the one thing that is certain is a lot of the old rules are going to be going out the window.
So net neutrality, it remains to be seen how that is impacted and what gets repealed on that. And that's the cellular carriers being able to have sponsored data, kind of like what Verizon's been doing with NFL and Go90, and AT&T's been doing with DirecTV. So we expect to see more of the carriers pushing those boundaries. And
yeah, this is a very complicated issue. Don't pay attention to just the sound bites. Dive a little bit deeper to understand both the pros and cons of changing the network neutrality rules. There's good arguments on all sides, but it is definitely some big changes happening. The other big changes that will be coming because of the new FCC is the restrictions on cellular carriers merging and acquiring each other will also be tossed out the window. So AT&T and T-Mobile almost merged several years ago. The
Sprint
FCC
and
stopped
T-Mobile
that.
did.
Sprint was trying to buy T-Mobile. FCC kind of put a stop to that. And now analysts are saying that it's going to be open season on mergers and acquisitions. So we'll see a lot of shakeup in the cellular industry going forward, particularly as cable companies start to step in.
I also anticipate that the carriers, the FCC has enforced them being very clearly in how they define the word unlimited, how they promote their plans, like those that had data caps that then went to slower speeds.
Right. And a lot of consumer protections that were in place.
We expect a lot of those to kind of drift away, and it'd be interesting to see how the carriers continue to present their plans to consumers and how they enforce different caps and throttling methods.
We'll be covering it closely, particularly as the new FCC comes into power and sets an agenda. So we will pay attention closely to all the changes in news.
All right. 600 megahertz auction is fizzling out. We're going to skip over that. You can read about that. 5G is probably worth noting about.
So actually, a lot of the carriers are making noise now about trying to be the first to bring 5G to market. They're going to be having a lot of 5G trials in 2017. This is network speeds that are pushing multi-gigabits per second. But even more interesting and more relevant as opposed to trials, because 5G is not really supposed to be standardized until 2019 or 2020. But shipping next year in real consumer devices on real LTE networks, all the carriers, T-Mobile, Verizon, and Sprint are all saying they're trying to be the first to have 1 gigabit per second speed on real devices out in the wild. So that would be basically a 10x increase from some of the maximum LTE speeds we actually see now. An amazing jump in a year. They're really push the limits of what current 4G LTE is possible.
But this is all still in testing labs. We expect to see more consumer testing coming out in select markets. But as far as for wide area adoption of 5G technology, we're still a couple years off at least.
But the LTE 4G 1 gigabit stuff is actually just within a year. That's pretty exciting.
Yes. All right, I think that gives a good wrap up of the cellular
That does.
in the last year. Expect a lot of exciting things that continue to happen in cellular, and of course, keep tuned. Next topic, mobile routers and Wi-Fi at campgrounds is the next area that we tend to cover at Mobile Internet. That's a popular option for our RVers, is using campground Wi-Fi and public Wi-Fi hotspots, and mobile routers, which helps bring together multiple internet inputs into a single device that allows your laptops and tablets all to access.
So that's how you could bring together your cellular source, your Wi-Fi source, maybe your cable modem source. The router is the hub of your network if you're building anything complicated. And there's a lot of really interesting new options that came to the market, particularly at the very end of 2016.
Right. So mobile routers have been kind of behind the curve on as compared to like home routers and office routers.
Right.
So 802.11 AC or 5 gigahertz support hasn't really been there for mobile routers until just the end of this year.
Right, so this basically ups the speed of your local network inside your RV 10x. So it's not so much a big deal if you're just worried about your internet speeds, because this is the speed inside your network. But if you're doing stuff in your RV, like casting or airplaying video from a tablet to your smart TV, or
doing backups to a file server, a media server.
If you have multiple computers talking to each other and stuff like that, 802.11 AC makes a huge performance difference, and we're starting to test these new mobile routers, and we're seeing it. So it's a really great advance.
So both Wi-Fi Ranger, who is an RV-centric mobile router and Wi-Fi extending company, and PepWave released new products in the last couple of months. We do have evaluation units in of all of their equipment, and we will be putting them head-to-head testing.
Yep. Wi-Fi Ranger actually revamped their entire product line, including their roof-mounted long-range Wi-Fi devices too. So there's a whole bunch of very interesting new technology there.
And then WineGuard entered the market. They've been known for TV antennas for RVers, and they also now have a new roof-mounted Wi-Fi extending option. We have been beta testing it for them since May.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
It, at this point, is very focused on just Wi-Fi. It does not even have an input, so you can't even tether a
cellular device to it at all. Right.
So that does have some limitations, and it is priced pretty high for just the singular purpose. But we will be putting it head-to-head testing with the Wi-Fi Ranger and PepWave gear.
Right. And so that's the kind of the big new routers, and then looking forward towards 2017. There's actually something really interesting coming from Wi-Fi Ranger called the Passport program, that is aiming to make it easier to find and use fast Wi-Fi at campgrounds.
Fast Wi-Fi campgrounds. I mean, we all laugh at that, right?
So yeah, it has been a joke in the past. Wi-Fi Ranger is claiming that their routers, starting with a software update about 3 or 4 months from now, will automatically get rid of login pages, get rid of connections, and searching for signals. Will automatically connect to a good fast signal, and they'll have a directory of letting you know where to find these good fast signals. And they're actually even going to go into certain partner campgrounds and bring in very fast connections and provide it, and all as a perk for Wi-Fi Ranger customers, and then they'll have premium service on top of that. So it's at least somebody trying to make campground Wi-Fi a better experience. We wish them all the luck in the world, because
it's a huge problem to tackle.
It's a huge problem.
We still pretty much recommend that if you rely on mobile internet for work or homeschooling or even your entertainment, that it's usually wiser to bring your own via cellular.
For the time being, at least. So satellite had kind of a slow year as we were literally waiting for things to get off the ground. And that kind of, the end of the year was the Jupiter 2 satellite launched. The Jupiter 2 is going to be what expands HughesNet's higher speed satellite service to be coast to coast, because it was right now had a huge chunk of the center of the country where RVers would like to go, not covered, forcing anybody who wanted to be mobile to use their older HughesNet, much slower service.
Very slow, and Hughes has made it very difficult to activate new plans on that older network.
Right.
Now, the Jupiter network is still a spot beam technology. That means that each beam is only covering a radius of a small area, and it technically isn't mobile friendly. The satellite and modems do need to be reconfigured as you move across the country. Real-time Communications has been working with HughesNet to enable mobility for their commercial customers who are in the field, and mobile satellite internet.
They've been bringing this to the RV market, working with RTC and HughesNet to kind of enable these tripod setups. You'd set up a tripod, set up a dish, aim it. It's a big cumbersome process, but you can now at last take a HughesNet system, even a HughesNet Generation 2 Jupiter system, take it on the road and be mobile. And that's been impossible for quite a while.
Not impossible, difficult.
Well, yeah.
And not fast.
Yes.
So we're still, the satellite has been launched, it's still getting into orbit at this time. It still has to be brought online and tested and configured. That's not expected to actually happen until later this year, perhaps by springtime.
And then they actually still have to finalize with the pricing and how these mobile plans might work. So stay tuned. We are tracking satellite closely. There's interesting stuff happening in 2017.
Right, not sure about yet. The price point on the tripod setups are around $1,000, so somewhat accessible for RVers who really need the option to go off grid, away from the cellular towers. There is another option that is already out there, and that's by RV Datasat. It is a roof-mounted option that has a price point of more $6,500 for installation, and then they do have data plans as well with unlimited data but slow speeds. So there are options for mobile satellite right now.
And then one other thing coming in 2017, actually launching just a few days from now, the Iridium Next constellation. Iridium hasn't been on people's radar for data for a long time. They're the satellite voice phones, but they're starting to launch the Iridium Next, their upgrade to all their satellites. The first 10 launch this Sunday if all goes well, and once that network is deployed, and it's going to take about a year and a half to get all 66 satellites into orbit, Iridium suddenly has the possibility to bring out data services, and this would be worldwide data services.
There's, of course, SpaceX, OneWeb,
and others further out in 2019, 2020. There's still a lot of interesting stuff coming in satellite, but things happen slowly, particularly when you have to build a billion-dollar machine
and launch
then
it.
Send it 23,000 miles straight up.
And hope it doesn't blow up in the process.
Yes.
So satellite, very interesting to be watching. Not quite yet today. I don't think quite ready for most RVers. I think most of us are going to be sticking to mobile cellular and Wi-Fi as most of our components.
But it's fun to watch, and we are tracking it, so keep an eye on our news center.
Very much. At the RV Mobile Internet Resource Center in this last year, Chris and I have made it our focus professionally, and it has now become pretty much our full-time job running and our private job.
More than full-time job sometimes.
Sometimes, yes. We expect we're going to continue focusing on it, keeping track with the news, and we could not do this all without the support of our premium members, our MIAs, our mobile internet aficionados. We have chosen to rely on membership fees and to support what we do here.
We're more like a public radio station. We don't take sponsorship or advertisement, and we don't let anybody buy favors or bias from us. So we can look at all products kind of on equal footing from the perspective of real RVers who live in a real RV.
Yes. Now, some manufacturers do give us evaluation units. Some we do purchase, but we try our best not to let that sway our opinions.
And then our members fund us.
And they get access to our in-depth testing reports and our in-depth reviews. We do a lot of hand-holding in our Q&A forums with them and helping them select the best gear for them. All the work that we do is supported by them, and because of that support, we're able to do a lot of free content like this
video.
This video and this article and all of our news articles, and the free support that we do in the Internet for Our RVers Facebook group that we host. That is all supported by the generosity of our members who do keep us funded in doing that.
So thank you, all of you.
Could not be more thankful for that. The book. So this time last year, we were deep in rewriting the 2016 edition. We put a lot of effort into it then to make
the Mobile Internet Handbook for those of you who are YouTubers who don't read. We have a book too.
Don't read. I hope you guys read. We put a lot of effort into taking away the product-specific information, the stuff that changes on an almost daily basis, and making the content more about the theory, so it's more evergreen. And we've done a review of the book in the last few weeks and feel that it is still relevant today with very minor updates that this video and article will update on. So we're not going to immediately be jumping into reissuing the book, and instead spending that time doing the mobile router testing and signal enhancing testing.
And then we also have written a lot of in-depth, basically rewrites of chapters that have changed dramatically, that become member-only resources for the time being.
Some of them
online.
Some
of them are free too. So we've got a lot of big in-depth guides that are book quality on the website now.
So We should have just left the title of the book the fourth edition instead of putting the number 2016 in there. So despite that, that lack of 2020 vision going forward last year when we were publishing the book, we are going to keep that as the current edition probably for several more months. We will probably have a new edition, a fifth edition, and we won't put a year in it this time. That'll come out later this year. But so we still do consider that book current. So if you've been holding off on purchasing it or getting started with it, if you need the information in the next few months, the current version is still the current resource.
And if you do join the site as a member, you get to download the current book and the future updates for free. So that's always something to keep in mind.
So that is our 2016 wrap-up of mobile internet.
2017.
We look forward to seeing what the year brings us, and we'll continue sharing what we find along the way. Thank you for joining us.
Take care.
See you next time.